We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
good evening, welcome to nufc Matters, the three amigos, the perfect way to kickstart a summer Newcastle United weekend. And it's a welcome to Mitch and Keith tonight. Good to have you on, lads. And George is trying to join us. He's having technical issues. That's why we're slightly late in starting. Steve Hasty is on the road again, but he will hopefully be back next week. I want to give a big shout out to this charity, the Northeast Newcastle, Dog and Cat Shelter. Have a look on the website, www.dogandcatshelter.com. I've been up there today with Joe Allen, who was doing a bit of volunteering up there, and absolutely fantastic place. Get yourself up there. If you're looking for an animal and you're looking for a dog or a cat, then hopefully you'll find one there. There's animals up there that need rehousing, and it's a great place. A lot of volunteers up there doing a great job. And they need your support as well. So if you've got a spare few hours and you want to go up and volunteer, give them a shout at the website. Or if you want to make a donation just to help them out, whether that's food or money or flea stuff, whatever you can think of, then contact them at the website, give them a shout. But that's the dogandcatshelter.com. It was lovely to go up there today and see the great work that they're doing. Okay, Newcastle United. Tom Dixon was straight in with this one, which I've seen a bit of today. Don't know a great deal about it. So we'll start with you, Mitch, on this. Newcastle have appointed Brad Miller as the club's new chief operating officer. Gaz asked the question, do we think Brad Miller will be overseeing stadium developments with his previous employment showing development, albeit at airports? So an off-the-field appointment now, mate, this week after a busy set of outgoings, which we can discuss as well. But let's talk about this incoming of Brad Miller. What did you make of that today, Mitch, when you heard the news?
It's effectively a brand new rule that we've never really had. The reading between the lines, the hints are that he's going to be responsible for certain areas of development within the club, and stadium development does seem to be within his remit. Something that we need, whether we would build new, expand or whatever, the stadium does need improvements to bring it up to date a little bit and give it more than just a lick of paint. And I find the thing that I like, and I know some people have expressed concerns about it already, but he's not. It's not a football appointment. He's not got a football background, and that to me says within what his remit's going to be, they've gone for somebody who is good at what he does in terms of development, and could probably bring some new ideas to the table, not be stuck in the one dimension of the football world where a lot of people come into things and it's like, well, we've always done it this way and this is the way we're going to continue to do it. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the right way. And it certainly doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way for us going forward, looking with developments to the club and the club shop and many other things going forward, that we setting the stall out to be world class at everything. And that's something we're very much not in many areas. And for no other reason than the lack of investment in the Ashley years, we're still paying for all of that. The fact that a skeleton crew ran the ship for years is still biting me in some ways, even now. And so, yes, I find it an interesting appointment because he's somebody who comes highly applauded from the world that he's been in, which does seem to have been mainly aviation. And that's not an easy industry to be successful in. If you can be successful in aviation, I really do think that's something which should make people sit up and take notice.
What's your thoughts then, Keith? It's another off-the-field appointment. They're constantly moving on to Newcastle in different ways off the pitch, and they're constantly recruiting. Do you know much about the guy?
He's supposed to have a good reputation, but I think when you look, there's a comment made today on social media where somebody said Lee Chanley used to do all of this, and I challenged that and said, "Are you sure he did anything?" And people are saying that Chanley did everything, but I think it's more of what did he really do. So if Chanley was doing the sponsorships that Silverson's doing now, if Chanley was doing contracts that the new team are doing, if Chanley was doing ground development, it might speak volumes for why the ground hasn't been developed and why it stood still for a lot of years. But people had been to the stadium, and I'm talking about outsiders when they've got things like pop concerts, have said that it's in need of refurbishment, it's in need of improvement. And you see that at all grounds. If you want to see a ground that's decrepit, look at Man United. Stadium Light, people who went to the Springsteen concert said, it's places falling apart. So when you look at this guy, he comes in and the risk, if you keep going out of the same pot and you keep bringing in people that's got a reputation, aka Dan Ashworth, what you're doing is you're really buying out of a limited pot and you're tapping people out of a limited pot. And if you're trying to get someone who's operationally skilled, he doesn't have to have football knowledge, because what he's doing, he's got to be skilled and proficient in putting a building right, or to put a building up efficiently, or putting a building up as safely and effectively as you can. And when you look at Newcastle, we've got a club shop that's going to dramatically improve. You've got a stadium that's either going to be refurbished or rebuilt, and you've got training ground that needs to be improved. And that's three areas that will keep somebody busy for at least 3 years. So in that time, he can learn anything he needs to learn about football during that process. But really, when you're going for a CEO, and if you bring a chief operations officer in, the CEO just needs to have operational excellence. And by having that excellence, you're talking about somebody that typically if you run an airport, you could run a football ground. If you think of it, I know there's health and safety in both, but I think the health and safety and task and challenge of running an airport is significantly higher than running a football ground. So I think he comes from an obviously well-qualified background. I think that there's no need. People have said, why has he not got football experience? And I think that when you look at what happens with people who do come in with a reputation, where do we get Silverson from? Arsenal. So if Silverson leads, where will he go? To probably to the football club. Whereas if you get somebody in, you ground them, train them, coach them, and mentor them in your way, maybe there's something called loyalty would come back, and maybe something comes back where they say, well, Newcastle's given us the chance, and I love working here, and I'm not up for grabs, because it seems quite mercenary in football. And it seems that anybody that's got a bit of a reputation is up and off. And it was maybe sad for Newcastle, but I thought refreshing when Dougie Freeman said, I'm staying with Palace, because he's got a good job there. And if he looks like a Potter at Brighton, do you think he might wish he'd stayed at Brighton rather than going to Chelsea? So some of that, I think you're sometimes better from bringing people from outside and coach them into your ways, and then get the loyalty that brings because you've shown them everything. But I certainly think we might have to show them things about football. But for him to be good, he's already got the skill set to do the things that they're going to task him with.
Yeah, good point, well made. George, I will try and bring you in, but it's not sounding good, mate. It's still the same, unfortunately. I did text you to tell you, but it's unfortunately, George, we haven't got your sound tonight.
Right, okay. Okay, enjoy your show, lads.
Okay, catch you next
See you,
week, George.
mate.
Take
You're
care,
awesome.
mate. Unfortunate, but we did try. George having technical issues with his laptop, and the sound is just not great, as you heard there. So we will get him back on next week, hopefully, all being well, when he gets his computer sorted out. Okay, we've got so much to talk about tonight. There's so many things. We're gonna curb the transfer speculation. I think there's lots of people talking about players. We can probably give an opinion on players we'd like to see, but there's so much speculation. I think we're hurtling towards 100 players that have already been linked with Newcastle. So let's talk about the outgoings, Mitch. Ian Edgar said, "Evening all, just read Matt Ritchie's farewell message. What a fantastic statement, proper professional." I mean, we've lost a few players already, and players that we expected to lose with. We're not qualifying for Europe. Of course, we know that plays its part. We haven't had much time to talk about the departures, Mitch. Paul Dummett, Matt Ritchie, Loris Karius, Kel Watts, Jeff Hendrick. Those are the main names which will, people will look at and go, oh well, he did that. They'll have memories of those players. The other players, the likes of Bondwell, Crossley, De Ball, Diallo, Hackett. A lot of those players, Dylan Stevenson, may have had the odd appearance on the bench or whatever, but none of these players have really, hit the high notes at St James's Park. So I guess we'll focus on those big names that have had a bit of first team action. I mean, no shocks, Mitch, really.
No, not particularly. I think they're all names we were expecting to see on the released list. Like Ian, I've just not long read Matt Ritchie's message as well. And I think it is indeed a fantastic, proper professional statement. Wouldn't expect anything less from him. And I think I think not missing out on Europe isn't an advantage, but what we do have is a situation where we've got less quotas to worry about hitting. And we're probably in a position where we can more strategically redevelop the squad and make certain cuts without fear that we're going to mess up somewhere else because we've got to have so many homegrown players, etc., etc., etc. From an FFP point of view, there's a hell of a chunk of wages just gone out there, and that's not a bad thing. That's definitely got to be, considered a positive as well. That'll help fund incomings that hopefully will be able to then lift the entire depth of the squad to a point where if we were to go through another injury run like we had, we wouldn't be so bereft as we have been. But certainly I think very much no surprises on the list and no surprises on the names. There'll be a few others who still have slightly longer on their contract who might go in the summer as well. And I think, I think that's what we're doing is we're seeing the start of probably a more significant overhaul of the squad than we maybe could have had.
Yeah, those of you who haven't heard the message, I don't mind reading it out. After 8 incredible years, my journey with Newcastle has come to an end. And before I begin to prepare for an exciting new challenge at my new club, I wanted to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who made my time here so special. To the fans, your unwavering support has and always will mean the world to me. From the elation of scoring the winner against Burton Albion as we chase promotion, to a personal highlight of mine, seeing out a 1-0 win over Manchester United to help secure our Premier League status in 2018. These moments where we battled and triumphed together at St James's Park will always hold a special place in my heart. Newcastle United is filled with extraordinary people who made my time here so special. There's no doubt that I'm leaving this club with friends for life. To the manager, coaches, my teammates, and all the amazing staff at the club, it was a privilege to be part of such a talented, dedicated, and ambitious team. Your hard work and friendship made every day a joy, and I am proud to have worked alongside you all. There's no doubt in my mind that this club will continue to grow from strength to strength over the coming seasons, and I will be watching proudly from afar as a fan. Finally, I want to end by thanking every single Newcastle United supporter. You are the beating heart of this one-of-a-kind club, and without you, none of this would have been possible. Matt Ritchie. Keith, great, that, isn't it? It just sums up the guy. Probably never going to be held in such high esteem as your likes of Rob Lee and Gary Speed and dare I say it, Bruno in more recent times, but very important player for us at a very interesting time under Mike Ashley.
I think if you could get the lad in half his birth certificate and get his sort of attitude, his commitment in the dressing room, and had a young Matt Ritchie coming in, it's a kind of person and character you build teams around. But he's been a brilliant servant. But the reality is, all good things have got to come to an end. And if I was in sole charge today, I owned the football club, there'd be a few more following him. But I think the dignity that he's shown in going is massive. But I think when you look, people talk about gaps and they talk about the catching up we've got to do. I read something 2 days ago where, because of the Champions League, because of the placings and the positioning we've got, and the fact that it's rated over several seasons, we looked at the money that was pulled out of the Champions League this year, and Man City pulled €32 million, and Man United pulled €28 million, and Arsenal pulled 27. Newcastle pulled €4.5 million. So when you put that together, €4.5 million is £3.5 million quid-ish, and that's not a lot of money for what was a brilliant event and a brilliant achievement by us. But it shows you that you're slipping. It's just in terms of Man United, you're getting sort of a seventh of what they're getting. Well, sorry, to ninth of what they're getting, nearly 10%. So you've got 90% catch up to do with Man United just on the Champions League, and they were rubbish. That they had one of the worst seasons they've ever had. But that's how far ahead these people are. And if you let sentiment take over, if I was picking the team, I'd put Karius in and tried him a bit more, because on the 2 occasions he played, I thought, there might be a keeper there. But now, as soon as he says he wants to be with his girlfriend, get him out and clear the goalkeepers and get better people in. But what I'm saying here is the likes of Dummett, who's been there since he was a young kid, the likes of Ritchie, they've been brilliant servants and they never let you down. But they just got great attitude. The everything that all you people watching tonight want. They bleed black and white. And I had a train journey with one of Richie's best mates who came up from the South Coast, and Richie was there. He put them up. They came up basically to watch Newcastle play against Brighton, and Richie said he's just an unbelievably humble lad. So it doesn't surprise us, A, what he's written, or B, the attitude he gives around the dressing room, nor the Dummets of the world. But you've got to say that there comes a time in your life when your legs slow down, when your steps get shorter, the strides just reduce, and it's time to say Newcastle need youth. And I read the article about that Benitez put in today about Hosselu. He was talking about him. He said he had great touch and he had great awareness, and I knew there was a football in there. I knew he could finish. He says, but the difference is, in Spain you get more time. He says, and in the Premier League you've got to do everything good, but you've got to do it faster than what you're doing in foreign leagues. And he says it's the speed and the amount of time you've got to do it. When that happens and your birth certificate says you're 34, 35, I'm sorry, but you just can't do it as fast. And if you see one of the best players in our generation, Peter Beasley, there's times when you thought he would go on forever, but at the end we saw him start to slow down. And Kevin Keegan, he put his hand up and said that after that Liverpool game, I need to call it a day. But with these people, I think it's great that they go with the dignity. I think there's a common denominator coming as well, is that whenever you hear people talk about Newcastle under this ownership and under this management, this football management, and under these coaches, people are talking about with great warmth. And I think our club is becoming a place where people will want to come. I think in the football world, people will say Newcastle's a great place, Newcastle's a great dressing room. So when you look at people like Dan Burn, he'll epitomise what it's like to play at the club. And I think, we talk about who you can attract and who you can't. We attracted Botman, we brought Bruno in. We've got Joe Linton to re-sign again. We brought Isak in at that kind of level. So to me, as Mitch has just quite adequately said, is the next challenge now is to have a big input. This summer's input to players is critical because you're either gonna, if you want to be negative, lose Bruno and Isaac, and you're gonna have a lot of money and gonna try and build things back up, or you're gonna lose some older players and you're gonna bring a few more gems in. And to me, I'd rather see 3 or 4 gems than 8 all right players. And some of the players I hear people rumouring, I'm thinking he's either too old or he's not good enough to take this club to the next level. So brilliant what Richie's put. I think he doesn't surprise us. He's just a diamond of a bloke. Sorry to say, Dumago, he's been a great servant, but there's a lot more. I've got more time on the contracts, and there's a few years younger. Have probably come to the point where they're not good enough to take us to the next level. If Newcastle are going to do it, we're going to have to start, bringing people in. And the big thing for me is youth and pace. That's the big things for me. That's a hard part of life. But I expect by the end of this window, we've waved goodbye to some other people who we maybe thought were going to stay around.
Mark Gillespie stayed, Mitch, being given an extension. I mean, I think the keeper, we've discussed what's going to happen with the transfers on here. I think most of us agree we probably need somebody to challenge Pope. Trafford's been linked, of course, from Burnley. But, yeah, I mean, Gillespie, is that just he's just signing on, local lad, 1 more year. It's an easy one to do. Does that mean we might see the back of Dubravka now? Oh, you're on mute, mate. You're on mute. You must have muted yourself.
Classes an academy player going down the line when we are talking about quarters. But then you listen to what what Eddie Howe said about him on the pitch after the penalty shootout in Australia. Anybody wants to stay back and do extra work, who's the keeper that stays with them and does the extra work with them? Him. Who goes the extra mile to help his teammates? Him. And this is that balance of talent and personalities that putting the Premier League squad's about altogether. And I think that for Gillespie's great. He's earned it, obviously, because he earns the praise of his manager and coaching staff and fellow players. But yes, the goalkeeping situation, it's a delicate one. Do what Arteta did this season and bring a goalkeeper in and say, no, this is my man. And no matter who you are in the club, whether you've been first choice or not, this is my man and this will be my first choice. Or try and find almost a unicorn, which is somebody who's good enough to replace Pope when needed and will challenge Pope for that position, but would be mentally willing to accept that he's starting from the bench. I don't know if there's many keepers would be willing to accept that. Or do we look for an experienced hand as backup who's on the way out of his career? That doesn't seem like the kind of signing we would make. It would be more like an up-and-coming young keeper, like Trafford, possibly, who would have one eye on developing and growing into the role and learning everything he can from the other senior goalkeepers at the club, and look to develop, and you hope he's good enough if called upon. It's a really difficult to balance situation, that one. You don't get many Steve Harpers anymore who are prepared to be around and put their effort in, who could... you think if Shea Given hadn't been around at the same time, Harper would have probably been in the England squads on occasion when he was at the top of his game. I know he had a 2-year spell when he really was, on the fringes of England call-up territory, and then having Shea Given around to reclaim his place, scuppered that a little bit. So it's the goalkeeping one's the one that's going to fascinate me about where we'll go with this. I personally can't see Dubravka staying. So it's like, where do we go from here,
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's where do we go from here? What do you think, Keith, goalkeeper situation?
Oh, you don't want to be asking me questions like this, because seriously, I'd be ruthless. I don't think Pope's good enough on the floor. I think he's one of the worst in the Premiership on the floor. And I think he's a cracking shot stopper and he's a good goalie. But I think he's way behind. And when you look at people, I mean, you look at that kid that Man United's bought. I mean, God, he's had his head in the microwave. I mean, he looks nuts. He looks around 2 parts drunk every night, and he's jumping around like a bloody spider. And I just look at him and think, Christ, I wouldn't like to give 30-40 million for you, let alone what they've paid. And when you look at people who do get the reputation, like Addison's the world and people like that, and then you look at the lad who come from Brentford to Arsenal, he's kept Ramsdale out. There are good goalies out there, but to me, I'm sorry, we talked about challenging. We went to group of death, the Champions League, and we challenged Milan and Dortmund, PSG, and to challenge them, you need players who's as good as them. You need players that can do it. Got a fly there. And for me, I think we need to go and get the number one goalie. I think we need to go out and buy and then put somebody in there that if he's not on the bench, if he's not in goal at the start of the season, he will be at the end. Because and then the player who jumps out at me for value, price, everything, is the Mamardashvili, the Georgian keeper. He's a big lad. He's better on the ground, we're told, and he's very, very, very effective goalkeeper. But the good thing about him is he's announced that he's not staying. They've already bought his replacement, so they've just gone and spent decent on a new goalie. And I think that he's saying he's going to announce where he's going very soon. So he'd be the choice I would pick. When you talk about going for a number, I'll bring him in. I'll let Dubravka go, Karius. I understand why they give Gillespie the contract. It's like Scott Carson at Man City, 39-year-old, and gets a contract, because not a lot of keepers are going to stay as number threes, and stay happy. So, but for me, I think you need to bring in your number 1 and 2, and I'll be bringing Mamardashvili in, and I'll be bringing Trafford in from Burnley, because again, I think he'd been got for the right money, and I think came out of Man City. He was a cracking good keeper. And he was putting the firing line at Burnley, which is very difficult. You know yourself that there'll be people at Sheffield United have had a battering this year, but they still be good and they're still developing. And that kid's, he's just a young man. He's just a young. What's Trafford, like 19, 20 or something? So I think there's a lot of potential in him, and I think to get a keeper like him and bring someone else in, and let Port, Mamardashvili and Trafford sort it out. Because I think you could get both those keepers in for around about 40-something million. And I think for a position that's so important as that, I think we've got to spend. I think it's one of our key positions this year. But when I looked last year, we had Karius on the bench and Dubravka. Seriously, I mean, there's times when I saw the penalties Australia, 3 out of 5 were down the middle. They'll just pass down the middle of the goal, and the goalie dived out the way. So I could have saved some of them, but I think people are frightened. I think our fans have become frightened to give opinion and to say what they think. And I think we're miles behind in the goalkeeping department. I don't think you could ever say, Newcastle's up there. They've got best keeper in the league, or they've got one of the top 5 keepers in the league. How long was it since we've had a keeper in the top 5? Because there's a lot of good goalies out. If you see the job Ray's doing at Arsenal, he's keeping Ramsdale out, but it doesn't surprise you. You know what I mean? They look rock solid. And apart from the cup final, I think the lad at Man City, the reserve for them, was looking good. He always played well against us. But again, their first choice keeps a crap and act. But I think the kid Mamardashvili is the one player out there that's getting above the right money. He's said he's moving. He's going to announce it, so I'm just praying that he's going to come to Newcastle.
Fingers crossed. As always, got plenty to get through on the 3 Amigos, and we're going to start with a little bit of this. As always, so many good ones sent to the Facebook page and the Facebook group. Join the Facebook group and like the Facebook page if you want to drop us a message with a tweet of the week. Thanks to Ian Hull. He sent us quite a few this week. Okay, so we've all heard of Richard Gere, but is it such a shame that his fame overshadowed that of his famous ventriloquist father, Gottler? Yeah, well done. It's a good job you've got it, lads, as well. Jimmy Moore has been in fine form this week as well. He says, if you're right-brained, you'll see a chicken laying an egg, and if you're left-brained, you'll see a man riding a horse.
I say gorilla. I say gorilla smoked the tab.
Well, I did what Jimmy saw as well, so there we go. I love
Oh,
that.
right, I didn't say that, Christ. Oh, what does that make me? What does that make me and Jimmy? Two parts gone.
I decided to install an ensuite in the main bedroom. The missus is going to be thrilled. Dear me, oh, that's a classic. These text ones, we'll get them every now and then. My love, if you're smiling, send me your smiles. If you're sleeping, send me your dreams. And if you're crying, send me your tears. I love you. I'm in the toilet. What should I send? Talking of toilets, Callie Jeff, he was not allowed in my house anymore. I understand the stain, but how on earth did you leave your hands and feet in my carpet?
No. God.
It's election time. We mentioned it last week. And now tell them you're bringing back national service. Anton Deck, of course, to Rishi Sunak. Paul Whitfield, thanks for this one. He says, Grant Holt's kids have got weird names. Dad of 3 beautiful girls, coach, pundit, and all-round nice guy. People now checking their ex profiles to make sure they haven't done the same. The morning after a big curry, chaps, Miss Shatalova. And another great name, this one, Everard Dick. It is the best name ever.
Sure he is.
I bet he's popular. This is a good one as well. Thanks to David Cook for this. He says, tweet of the week, Matt Ritchie arrived with his pre-sale delivery of strips for the Adidas launch.
Yeah.
I've had a few people send that in. It's a great bit of artwork on the side of an articulated lorry with Keegan, Sir Bobby Robson, Beardsley, Shearer, Gaza on there. But yeah, if you see him, give him a wave. It's a fantastic bit of artwork. That brilliantly done. And the irony is strong in this one, chaps. A huge sign in the cyclist lanes saying, give cyclists space.
Right.
This one's right up Mitch and Stew Street, a Yorkshire cocktail. Thanks, Gary. And we do get a few of these name ones as well. Hey, I just met you and this is crazy, but here's my number. So call me maybe. An American girl releases first doll with hearing loss. Faith Moore was quick on the replies. Wait, the other ones can hear us. Jimmy Moore again. She said she wanted a spice rack for the kitchen. I said, well, if that's what you want, what you really, really want. And Jimmy was in with this one as well. Elk City is a bird sanctuary. A badly placed sign that. It's right next to KFC.
Hey, God.
Rishi Sunak again. Why does it always rain on me? Is it because I've lied since I was 17? Thank you, Ian. And I like this one as well. 2 years together and not a single argument. Congratulations. Here we go as well. Kia and Nokia. Very clever.
Gee.
And Ian Hull, another good one. Buckingham Palace, 11:30 a.m. and the tourists gather to watch the changing of the guard.
Jeez.
I did laugh out loud at that one, Ian. Thanks for that one. I was dreaming I was at Walmart, says the old woman to her husband. I was dreaming I was with 3 women. Was I there? No, you were at Walmart. And I think you're right. I didn't say anything, says the wife. I'm just trying to save time, says the husband.
Class. Quality.
And Madonna's latest tour has been announced, 2024. And there's a Star Trek one from Gary as well. You've heard of Elf on the Shelf, lads, but what about Spock on her? You get the rest. And a couple of tattoo ones have made it in again this week. When you ask for the Gallaghers, we'll get Jimmy Carr and Harry Potter. Very good. And another Rishi one. A good photographer takes time to set up their shots.
Moron.
And I love this one as well. Oh, Bat Betty, Bam Balam. And there's a new, we finally found a new prototype for the electric car, lads. First image leak of VW self-driving car. Herbie, goes to Monte Carlo. Donald Trump's in the news, so this is appropriate. There we go. Stormy Daniels said they had an affair. Donald Trump said they didn't. Who are you going to believe? The fake blonde with the big tits or Stormy Daniels? That's my favorite, one of my favourites.
That's good, that, like.
And did you know that Stevie Nicks once turned down a marriage proposal from William Shatner? He didn't want to be known as Stevie Shatner Nicks.
That's quality, that.
The William Shatner documentary that's come out is well worth a watch, by the way. Andrew Malloy, thank you for this one. He said, Chinese restaurant saying, "We not see your cat. Stop asking. Try our chicken. It's perfect." And this one's been sent by numerous people. Glass coffins. Will they be popular? It remains to be seen.
No.
And a couple of cartoon ones as well I had sent in this weekend. Just what did you do in there? It took a bit of time, but you get there in the end.
I got there. There's shit in the woods.
And there's Little House on the Prairie, lads, the modern day version. I'm to one of them. I've never used that for an advertising campaign. And a new band out, which I went to see this week. It's called the Beatles. And the new single's out this Monday. It's called "I Want to Hold Your Little Hand." And Stephen Coxon, hi mate, here's a good one for Tweet of the Week for you, if you wouldn't mind. Bill Pear. It was on Facebook and somebody put, "Hi mate, I was trying to enter a competition on ITV, but it said I need your permission first." And an Indiana man followed this Chinese spy balloon for 194 miles before he realized it was bird shit on his windshield. And I wonder if the receptionist at the sperm bank has ever used the phrase "thanks for coming." It's a good question to ask. And do not eat the large white mints when you're in the toilet. Good advice for all lads out there. And the winning one this week for me was this. "Hi mate, how are you? I need some help if you've got a minute." "Hey man, yeah, good thanks. You?" "Sure thing. I'm good mate, all good. I've just bought a new telly to watch the Premier League on next season, and I've opened the box to find there's no leads." Sorry, Peacock, I knew you'd be in the chat tonight, but we had to get a little joke in at your expense. If you've got a tweet to send us, please send it to the Facebook page or group. Like the page, join the group. Or send it to me at Steve Wraith on X, and we will feature them on the show. And keep them coming. Always some good ones. And as always, we are broadcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on X tonight, as well as YouTube. We've got 820 watching tonight. If you are watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, and X, please jump onto YouTube. Search NUFC Matters and please subscribe. Our subscribers are way over 52,100 now and growing each week. So please keep on supporting the show. We enjoy doing it, and as long as we enjoy doing it, we'll keep on building it. Okay, more questions coming in, and Geordie Boy is interested, Mitch, in knowing what yours and Keith's views are on the Carabao Cup seeding. Are the cartel going strong? That is what Geordie Boy wants to know, Mitch. So, yeah, the seeding is interesting. Keeping the big guns apart, Mitch.
There's two arguments to it, isn't there? There's one that says it gives smaller clubs that get through the later rounds more of a chance to draw big payday in the competition by hitting one of the European playing teams. However, then it also means it's more likely to generate the kind of draws that would favour those teams in Europe, who would then be more likely to play weakened teams and have a greater chance of going through to the next round of the competition, which doesn't seem to be in the spirit of the competition. For me, the League Cup in particular was always one where certainly second flight clubs always had a puncher's chance going into it. And the fact that it was a proper random draw always helped. Anytime they start tinkering with the basic ways a competition functions, it immediately makes me think, well, what's the ulterior motive? Who's driving this and why? And it's obviously the cartel six, as it were, who some have threatened now to pull out of the competition, even as they view it as irrelevant, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I can't help but feel like other things they're discussing at the minute. It all seems to be revolving around the protectionism of those 6 clubs. I don't know how Keith sees it, but that it just leaves doesn't sit right with me.
You know how I see it when you mention the word cartel. To me, it's just feeding the fat cats bigger. It's the chances. See, if you've got Man United and Man City playing in a midweek game in Europa League and Champions League, then their managers will probably choose that they want to do better in that, and they'll probably put the Carabao Cup further down and play the kids, like Arsenal and Man United and people like that over the years. I think the beauty of that means it's that if you said in domestic competition, we've got the Premier League, then you've got the FA Cup, then you've got the Carabao, you'd say that third cup was the most reachable for all the other people in, and that's the romance of football. The romance of football is that, you know, the Wigan Athletics can get to Wembley, and then that's when it becomes magical. And for me, Coventry City should have been at Wembley. They should have played Man City, because for me, Coventry City were through, and I think they were absolutely ripped off to not get there. But when you're starting to grade people and not get people to play other teams, what you're doing is you're undermining the Carabao Cup. You are playing to the Whitman boys in the Big Six. And then don't forget, these 6 clubs are the people who try to form the ESL and bust the whole of football. So why would you now be making leniency for them? And why would you be giving these people preferential treatment? Because it's anti-competitive. You know, if I'm the sponsor of the Carabao Cup, I want the drama. I don't want extra time and going to penalties. I want a replay, because I'm a shareholder or a manager, or I'm a reserve player at Notts County. So you know, I want to give you these things. I want to be able to sit there and say, well, you know, the club I play for, a Fleetwood or the Blackpool or whoever, and the only way I'm going to get a game is maybe in these Carabao Cup games. And so they should be giving all these clubs the chances to do it. But what they're doing is they're just ignoring all the teams in the Football League, and they're just focusing on 6 teams. And if I've just said to you there that we only got a 10th out of the Champions League this year, what Man United got, and now they're going to give more rules for them to give these clubs more advantage, it tells you that we are always going to be 90% behind. The only way Newcastle ever bridge it is by doing almost obscene commercial deals, you know, by putting sponsorships, which are going, they're rocketing up at the moment. So it's our biggest hope. But with Man City, with the turnover 700 million, it's years to catch them. And you know, it's as simple as this: if Man City decide that they want Bruno, even with 115 charges around the neck, they'll buy him and they'll get him, and there'll be nothing we can do about it. And it'll be gone. It's as simple as that. And you know, it just means every player. It's like back the days of Waddle, Gascoigne, and Beatsley. It's like them days where your players are yours till somebody else wants them. And the only way we'll bridge it is with sponsorship. But when you've got a trophy like that, which, be fairness, 60 odd years of waiting, it would mean a lot Newcastle to win the cup. And, you know, when we went out to Wembley and camped out, that would have been everything to win that trophy. But they're not satisfied with giving obscene money to these clubs and getting them to earn 9 times or 10 times more than the rest of it. They're all saying that they want to now seed them to give them an even better chance of winning that cup as well. So I think for me it stinks. I think it's cartel gone daft, and I long for the day when a group of people challenge the cartel and challenge the Premier League for anti-competitive behaviour. Because when it does, it'll fall like a pack of cards.
George, have we got you with us?
I would hope so.
You're slightly out of sync, George, so it's slightly delayed, but let's go with it. Let's go with it. We'll see. The crackling isn't there, so we'll go with it. What do you make of the Carabao Cup and the way that they've decided to seed it now, George?
Well, it's another pander to the big ones, isn't it? That's all it's about, pandering to the ones that are powerful, which is absolutely ridiculous. They've got enough advantages as it is. To do that, to make it that much easier for them as opposed to the smaller clubs. I'm sure somebody's already said it. The beauty of the early rounds for the smaller clubs was it gives them a chance to make some money. And now they're not even going to get any chance to do that. It's about power, the powerful ones doing what they want and getting what they want. And until all the others turn around and say enough's enough, they'll continue to do it. They're running the show, and they're not going to give that up easily. You know, they're going to have to be put in their place eventually. And it's quite sad, really, quite sad.
Yep, it certainly is. And the Champions League as well, Mitch, is also going to be rule changes there with seeding. I mean, it's another just another thing. They're constantly moving the goalposts, aren't they?
We see how the Champions League goes with this new format with the Swiss chess style draw. That was always about one thing: television, and that's to make sure that they get more of the kind of games that get more viewers. But also, that format helps the bigger clubs. The bigger club can actually mess up a couple of times, which might put them out of a group stage, but would still let them go through almost to the last 16. Once they get those bad performances out of that system, it still helps them progress. Again, it's about giving more to the halves and making it more difficult for certain people to catch up, which we have spoke about to death almost, really, over the last few years. And yet we still seem to see decisions being made by the football decision makers that do one thing and one thing alone, and that's pander to the clubs with more power and make it more difficult for other clubs to bridge that gap.
Yeah, okay, we'll move on to another question. We've got quite a few coming in, lots of comments to say. Great to see Keith back on. We've talked about it, Keith. I mean, it's just work really with you. We'll try and get you on once a month if we can. I think it suits you and suits your social life, Keith. You don't get much you want because you're working all the time, but lots of nice, kind words. I'm sure you're seeing them all in the.
It's really kind.
In the chat.
It's humbling. It's humbling. I'm pleased George is back because when he disappeared earlier, my heart sunk a bit because every time I see him in the Irish Centre just to get 10 minutes was nice. But when I come on here, I just like to sit and listen to him. And when your computer would work earlier, I was thinking I'm sending something up your house to get your bloody computer wires fixed. So it's great to see. It's great to see everybody in the chat. I've seen the kind words, and it's humbling. It's humbling to see.
This is the old computer that John Allen gave us. The only reason I didn't come on in this one, when I got it set up, I asked Steve to send us an email, and the email never arrived. But while I was sitting here, I thought, well, if Steve puts the link on Twitter, I know Twitter works on here, so I just put the link on Twitter and put it straight onto here, and it was easier. So I'm a keyboard warrior again.
I'll tell you what is, George, I've travelled through Europe to PSG with John Allen, and I've followed him every game this season, and it's good to find that he's got someone that works.
Hey! Fantastic. Stuart Lawrence asked a question earlier, Mitch. He said, lads, what are your thoughts on Spurs for director of football? From what I've watched and read, he's got the same football philosophy as Howe. He likes intense style and not possession for possession's sake, and he's done well at all his clubs. Still no announcement on that. We've obviously announced a different off-field position today. But yeah, what's your take on Spurs as a director of football?
The one concern people have shared about him is obviously that he's involved with 777. He's their global director of football. But he's not the concern at 777 per se. That's the finance and ownership. By all accounts, in his remit, in the role he has, he's done very well over the last few years. It seems exceptionally good at acquiring good young talent, developing good young talent, and then either getting them into the teams or moving them on for a profit. And has a good track record. Did he work under, was it Ragnarok at Hoffenheim or somewhere like that? And I think he certainly is well thought of within the game from a football aspect. But having 777 on your CV actually hurts your CV. It makes people raise eyebrows and ask questions. And that's the challenge with him.
What's your thoughts on a director of football and George Spores? I mean, you know, he has a good reputation within the game, but as your son rightly points out, it's that connection, isn't it, away from Newcastle United that could be the concern. And
as an old-fashioned saying, mud sticks, unfortunately, and it still applies. Once you know, I've seen people in the university who have had brilliant careers. One academic mistake, that's them gone. That's their careers finished. And I suspect football's the same. Once people know that this guy's been all over the place with 777, he's a 777 man, and he'll never shake that. And I don't particularly want that at Newcastle United. For me, that they're doing all the right things so far. They're not appointing the first head that comes around the door and making a knee-jerk reaction. They are actually doing a process, and that's the important bit about it for me, to do the process. If after they've done the process, that person comes to the top of the pile, then I think we'd have to live with it, because the club are saying, well, this is what we want, and we've got to listen to that. But I can't see Amanda and Mirdad and others in the business side of the club getting themselves linked with somebody that's linked with 777. It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. And I have a different take on Mr. Friedman to somebody else. That was refreshing. He stayed where he was. He used Newcastle United to get a bloody pay rise, as far as I'm concerned, and that's all he was interested in. I don't think he ever really wanted our job. I really sincerely don't think he did. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but that's what it looked like to me, and that's how I would have taken it. But I go back to the process. If they've set out a plan and a certain criteria that it won't fulfill, and they're not going to appoint until they get those criteria fulfilled. And that's great, as far as I'm concerned. As I say, if that guy comes to the top of the pile, you know, they say the cream will rise. If he comes to the top of the pile after all of that, then appoint him, and we'll have to support him. That's great. But surely there are other talented people around, particularly international people. We want somebody, I said it the other night, we want somebody who, when he sets foot in a football ground in any continent in the world, they're all going to say, oh, the bloody man from Newcastle's here. What's he want? What's he doing? That's what I want. That's what I want. I know I'm a greedy little duck, but that's what I want. And I don't see any of those names doing that yet. Bar one, Maldini keeps coming to the top for me, because he certainly would attract that kind of attention. But, you know, if you believe some journalists, he's never set foot in Newcastle. Well, used lads know, and others know, he's actually been into the club twice, at least. So, you know, let's let them do their work and see what comes out. But if that guy comes to the top after the process, 777 won't matter to me. We'll just get behind him and do our best to support him. But I don't see him shaking that off, and Amanda and people like that wanting to get into bed with somebody with that's not a very nice phrase to use for a lady, is it? With somebody that's got 7-7 attached to them.
Keith, what's your thoughts on the director of football? I think the last time I had you on, we were looking, we were talking, and nothing as yet. But I'd rather they took their time and made the right appointment this time, rather than having somebody who comes in to use the club just to put the club on their CV and move on quickly. We need somebody who's going to come in long term and get the plan and take the plan forward.
I think when you look at football now, I think 2 ways we're going to catch up with the dreaded cartel is one, sponsorships, and two, it's spotting players before they become superstars. Because we, with the money we've got coming in versus the Man Cities of the world, will never be able to go head to head for a few years with them on money, both wages and on fees. So the only way you're going to do that is if you can land people like Bruno Guimaraes at 30-something million or 39 million, and then you can go and land a Botman. And now people thought we paid a lot of money for Isak, 67 million. You start to look cheap. You start to look like low cost. So to me, the real cream value is abroad. There will always be value in the Premiership, and people can argue that Gordon, that Hall, and that Livramento will show you that. But if anybody comes to the Premiership who's half decent, there's a massive queue, and there's naturally a lot more money over this part of the world. Is the EPL is so cash rich, and the TV money is so great that you're not going to pick up real bargains in England anymore for the 20 million mark. And all them players now that there is still a gamble. 35s, 40s, and they're going to be 45s and 50s. And when you say the money for some of these players, you look at the lads at Palace, they're talking 60 millions, and you're talking about big money for the Tonys, despite of his age. So for me, I think we need somebody who's got some knowledge of the foreign markets, and it doesn't worry us too much that the guy's got association with 777, as long as he wasn't doing the books. And I hope he's better on emails than our current lad is, than Ashworth is. But what I would say to you is we know Maldini's been over twice. You'd think if he had been over George, you wouldn't let him go if he was the right man. So that if he's been over twice, he hasn't been got, and he's not talked about, then you've got to sit there and say it mustn't have happened. But for me, you're talking about George being able to walk into a stadium and say, oh, there's Bobby Moore, there's Bobby Charlton. You're talking about that kind of presence, like Franz Beckenbauer, somebody who's got great standing in the game. But the people who's got that are snapped up by their countries. You know what I mean? Like the Dutch clubs went for Cruyff and things like that in the day when the lad was alive. I think it's very hard getting the best director of football. And that Dougie Freeman might have got a thing, but it proved one thing: he's doing a good job. I mean, a lot of people said, how's he going to attract people? When you heard players talk, they only went there because of him. So I think we do need a director of football. I think it's promising that Ixon and Young Howe, Eddie's relative, have got good sort of thoughts in the club. I just think we're still lacking somebody that can make these things happen, someone on a high level. And I'm quite keen for it to be somebody from abroad. Because I think that if you've got somebody out of Dutch football that knew Dutch football back to front, there's some great signings still to be got. There's people playing in Germany that can be still got for the right money. But I tell you what, anybody in England that's half decent, he starts at 30-something million, probably 40-something million now. And then when they get good, it goes 50, 60, 70. And when you're paying 100 for Grealishes, it tells you how this market isn't really open. Caicedo made his name over here. We want the guys, and we thought we got him with Ashworth, who brought Caicedo to Brighton. So that's what we thought it is. They brought McAllister into Brighton. It's them kind of players. But that's the only way we'll compete, by buying people for much less money. Bring Newcastle in Isak, Gordon, and Bruno. I think we did it, but I think we need to go and add to that now. And what worries us most this year is all the rumours about English-based players, British-based players, and I would rather see some more players coming from abroad.
Lots to talk about. We've already hit an hour. This show flies over on a Friday. I'm sure you know that at home too. We always have a break, and you know what that means. It is the ads. But if you are watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, jump over onto YouTube, open a different window while you're watching the ads, search up nufc matters, and hit the subscribe button. It's free, and we still do 7 shows a week.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk, telephone 01768 210 102, or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to United Group Travel. There are no strangers in our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460, or mobile 0791 666 4174. Thanks to Media Arts for the technical side of things. And you can also find us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button underneath this video. Hit the all notifications bell so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumb up to like the channel and click share to your social media. If you want to join the channel, then click join for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become a member for a one-off £25 payment, email john@nufcmatters.com or go to membership at the website nufcmatters.com. If you've got a smartphone, hold your camera over the QR code and it'll take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk to the matchday bucket and you can leave a virtual donation today.
And don't forget, there is a fundraiser going on the 20th of July in aid of Dementia Matters. Supermac, Gibbo and George will be on stage. There'll be music from the Longstands, Trevor and Gaz doing an acoustic set. You can get your tickets from newcastlelegends.com or nufcmatters.com. The tickets are a tenner, with all proceeds going to Dementia Matters. And John Gibson and Rob Lee are doing a talk-in as well at the O2 City Hall. Tickets are £15 from ticketmaster.co.uk, and that event takes place on the 2nd of August. Perfect curtain raiser for the new season. Get yourself onto ticketmaster.co.uk to get your tickets for that event as well. Okay, still lots of questions coming in, lots of comments coming in from people. Mike, good evening. He said, who else should we be trying to cash in on? Do you think we should cash in on Miggy, Wilson and Trippier? That's the three that he suggests, Mitch. I mean, there's going to be lots of business done, you know, and like I say, we don't go in for speculation on here. I've seen lots of questions coming in. Neil Calvert saying, hope the speculation on Mbeumo is wrong. It's a backward step, hardly pulling up trees at Brentford. Lewis Apenda at RB Leipzig would be my choice, says Stuart. He says double figures in every league he played in. Holland, France, Germany, stepping up each move. Worth noting that Spurs signed him for Vitesse Arnhem. But yeah, look, it's the silly season we're going to be entering, and the transfer window is not even open yet. And we're hurtling towards being linked with 100 players, Mitch. Oh, you're on mute again.
It's Mitch. Always mental, isn't it? You know, every season it seems to get worse now. That by the time the transfer window is open, we're being linked to a gazillion players, and so it gets difficult for us to pick the wood from the trees and try and know what is really happening. I guess you just have to try and almost be pragmatic and take the approach. They'll sign who will sign, and we'll find out when they're on the pitch, having that picture taken, holding the shirt or holding the scarf. You know. The reason why people are mentioning Miggy, Trippier and Wilson is because they still have a degree of book value that would help balance the books from an FFP perspective. So you can see why the people might be looking at those as potential outgoings. It's certainly what we've seen, like I said before, with the release of the people they're releasing, because we don't have certain squad quotas that we've got to hit so hard now. We get a year where we can genuinely juggle that squad. I don't think you'd say we could have a radical overhaul of it, but I think we're certainly going to see a few more outgoings before I think we see anybody come in, actually.
Yeah, I mean, do you think, how much do you think we'll spend? We'll take that one as well from Lone Wolf, Mitch. I mean, can we put a figure on it?
Nah, because this transfer market now, the waiting for strikers is exceptional in terms of you're going to pay more for a striker than any other players. It's a very difficult market to judge. I'm looking at players like Chelsea, the young players they're putting out either for loan and with an option to buy, and they're asking significant chunks of change for players who've done very little. So it's a real difficult market to comprehend, and I don't think it's any more. Can you have a set of figures in mind and they're going to be within those two? I think you could blow those figures out of the water, but equally you could be blown away the other way. You can pick a few bargains up. It is a very, very difficult market to judge this close season, and then we've got the complication of, we're going to get 2 or 3 players pop about the blue during the European Championship and suddenly start pulling up trees and getting people interested in them very much out of the blue. And in that respect, do you see clubs really making a significant change in their transfer plans to try and accommodate that?
George, it is going to be a busy summer, out and ins. We can't predict what we're going to spend. It'll be interesting to see what we do spend. Or I genuinely feel that there will be some big name players going out. And the guy who asked the question mentioned Trippier, I think Miggy, I think Wilson. There's a few I think we know could be used as collateral to go out.
Well, to those 3 you mentioned, you're asking me directly. My opinion would be yes. Out, go. Get rid of them while they've got money. And here's my reasoning. Miggy was the one flyer that we had where I was always glad to see him in the team. 100 miles an hour, lots of effort, and you knew that's what you were going to get. Very frustrating. But his replacement's already here. Harvey Barnes is quick, if not quicker. He can use his left foot, for God's sake, and his right foot, which Miggy never could. There was one stage where Miggy was beating everybody, and if they'd opened the doors at the Gallagher corner, he'd still been running in the Haymarket by the time they stopped them. But no, Miggy served his purpose, did a good job. Rafa knew why he wanted him and why he waited for him, and he's shown his value. If he's going to go, we want him to go while he's still got some value, and I think he has. Wilson, great centre forward, has all the attributes you'd want in a centre forward, but he's got crystal legs. He's been here a long time. He should have been. I'm just looking at the statistic. I think you've got it, Steve Wraith, of how many games he's played since he come. And I've worked out if he just had an average season each season, he'd have played 3 times the games that he's actually played. And that would have put his goal scoring, if he'd kept the ratio up with Kane. It's up with Kane now. We're only on a handful of games compared to Kane. And we can't afford to have a senior player like that. So while he's still got book value, let's say goodbye to him as well. And I'd rather risk the money on somebody young and untried. Well, a bit like Isak was when he came. I didn't know who Isak was. The only person that persuaded me about Isak was Ibrahimovic, who sang his praises before he'd set foot in the place. And you think, well, if he's going to say that, he's worth a shout. Worth a shout. We've got a world-class centre forward now, who at his young age is the only one to challenge the Manchester City bloke for the Golden Boot. Now, what we want is somebody to sit alongside him and fill in if necessary, or be able to play alongside him and cause havoc wherever he plays. So Wilson, goodbye, Callum. You're great, but you can take your injuries elsewhere. That they're not. We've had enough of them. Really, is the other one. Trippier, love Kieran Trippier for what some of the things he does on the pitch, but some of the things he does off the pitch bother me. His reluctance to play in the last few games of the season, it seemed to me that he was protecting his place in England, because I think he'd already been told, rumour has it, that he was going to be the left back in for England in the Euros. Now, again, don't really need that. Don't really need that. We want somebody 100% commitment, not half and half now. And since Livramento come, of course, it's not going to be such a big hope. And who knows, there may be other young defenders who are snapping at the heels that may be able to fill in as well. So for the three that was asked, I would say yes, because they've all got a value at the moment. Another season, they all will not have that value. That's for sure. And my bottom line is, would we really miss them? I'm sorry, I don't think we would.
It's about cashing in at the right time, Keith, I suppose. I mean, the transfer window is an interesting one, especially with virtually nothing spent in January, and a transfer window which promised so much, and ultimately, because of what happened to Tonali, I guess, out of everything, and then the injury to Barnes, it was, we're left, looking at Livramento saying, well, that was a good signing. Let's hope Tonali is. But yeah, this transfer window is another important one.
Where do you start? I think seriously, if I'm one of these that just looks and thinks, well, how are you going to bridge that gap? And you look at two fullbacks, Target on the left, Kraft on the right. Nah, honestly, like I wish I was a winger playing against one of them. I just don't think that they would get close to any top six side. You know what I mean? And we had Target in there for weeks, and it's like in the old days, clubs that wanted to get on, like Liverpool, Man United, they never ever sold you good players. I remember somebody buying Phil Borsmouth at Liverpool and thinking he was going to be good. And I remember Middlesbrough buying a Man United player and thinking they were going to be good, and they just crash because these people watch them morning, day, and night, 7 days a week. They watch them eat, drink, fart, and wash, and they know everything these players can do. But more importantly, they know what the players cannot do. And I've seen enough of late where I watch likes of Kraft and people say, "Oh, he's a decent player." He's just not good enough. He's just, and seriously, what's Willock done? He's been injured, and seriously, I mean, people crucified Dan Burn at left back. Yeah, Stevie Wonder could spot Dan Burn wasn't quick enough at left back, but what every club did that played against him, they shot the fastest player they had in the squad on Dan Burn just to run him stupid. What did he need? He needed a good left midfield player to look after him. Well, it didn't give him it. So for me, I think midfield next season is going to be precious. And when you've got a Tonali, a Bruno, and a Joe Linton in there, and you still got to create, I don't think it's going to hold spaces for the Willocks of the world. I think they go through the motions. If he's 20-25 million, I'd be taking the money on him. It'll be written off. I'd be moving the fullbacks on. I'd be letting Trippier go. I'd be letting Dubravka go. I'd let Wilson go without a shadow of a doubt. Last time you're going to get a payday on him. He's not quick enough. If you're playing, Newcastle's playing, and our DNA is high press. I'm sorry, Callum Wilson's not high press. He hasn't got the legs to high press anymore. So what I'm saying to you is if you're going to play them kind of people, Almiron, he had his great season last year. This year it just hasn't happened. Take your money on him. If these people want to buy them, people coming up want to buy them, let them go. Because you're literally getting treble whatever you get in that you can spend out, so you can bring better players in. And when you see an Anthony Gordon come in, where very few people knew how good he would be under Eddie Howe, they just thought, well, he's a pain in the ass at Everton, and he's obviously got good football. And let's see what he does here. And when you see what Howe can do with less than 40 million on a player like Gordon, to me, he's dynamite. He's absolutely dynamite. I wouldn't swap him. I wouldn't straight swap Anthony Gordon tomorrow for Grealish. Not a chance would I do it. One's 100 million, one's 40. So what I'm saying is, if this squad, this group of coaches can bring players in like that and bring Botman and Bruno in the money they did, and to me, if you talk about increasing value, Isak's value must have gone through the roof. You know what I mean? Like what is Isak worth and what is Haaland worth? Crazy, probably too much. So if that's the case, we know where the value is. But I'm sorry, you can't put a fine-tuned side out like that, where all the pressing starts with their keeper, their defenders, and then Wilson just can't press. If the one thing that can do is you've got great, brilliant finishing, and there'll be people low in Premier and top of Championship begging for a player like that. So let him go. Let's take the 20 million on him and let's spend the 60 on somebody else. We passed up on João Pedro going to Brighton. We must have looked at him 3,000 times and we bottled it and didn't get him. But he looks like a player. But there's people in South America, there's people in Europe could come in this team and do better. And next year, when they say, people keep going about Alexander Isak, great centre forward. To me, he's not a centre forward. To me, he's not the number 9. So for me, I think we want a number 9. So we change it. So if we're 1-0 down in a cup match, we can put somebody on who can sit there and batter on them. So I always dream. I might look like some two-part nutcase, dreaming about the Osmans of the world. But if you get rid of that list, Murphy, winger, I don't think Murphy's good enough. I don't think Murphy, Almiron is good off the right side. Barnes had a great game against Spurs, but when he starts, he hasn't done a lot in a lot of games. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. Looks like the player, looks like George saying what he can do. I'm not convinced he's in the Isak and Gordon league. And if you've got 3 forwards, you've got 2 of them spoken for now. So you want 1 more in there. And to be honest, you might sit there and say, well, he keeps over the top. But I don't think Almiron or Murphy or Barnes, Wilson, I don't think any of them are good enough for that 3rd spot. I think that 3rd spot should be, and it might be that Minter, it might be that he's going to see like another Anthony Gordon coming on the right-hand side. I don't see anybody of that ilk. And we need, if Gordon can be got 2 years ago for 40 million, there's another one out there. And we should be buying that stamp of player. We shouldn't be buying. I mean, if you put Jared Bowen in that side, and on that forward line, it makes it more potent. But what I'm saying is, I'm sorry, but no one's going to tell me that putting Miggy in there or Murphy, who I think is a great lad, and Newcastle through and through. If you put them in, you're not going to tell me they're in the same league as Gordon or Isak. And I think that's why Newcastle, if Newcastle are going to bridge the gap, they've got to be ruthless and they've got to start spending. They've got to upset a few people. But seriously, we're winning bugger all. We're going to finish 6th or 7th if we start the season as people like Kraft and Target getting a game. And Dubravka, they need to all go. They need to go, and we need to get people in who we need some youth in there. Where's these people they bring in before they're brilliant, who's 21 and 22 and 19? That's the kind of people you want to bring in. But you want to develop the Mileys and the Andersons to come through, and you've already got Tonali, Joe Linton, and Bruno. So you tell me, with them 3 and them 2 kids coming, you tell me how you can hold on to all these other midfield players. I say move them out. Let's try and bring some more gems in. Let's bring people in from abroad who's got great reputation, great flair. And I say bring Minter in this year and let's keep him at Newcastle a while. I saw that Kowal playing Australia. Yeah, he's obviously a footballer, but to me he's 2 years of first team football at Newcastle. But I think Minter could come off the bench and be hungry and do things. He's shown it. Yes, he'll make mistakes, but I've got to say it, yeah. Honestly, it's all right saying, "Oh, he's a nice lad, he's a trier." Willock, I don't say what he's given us. I don't say what. When he comes off the bench, I think, "Oh wow, Willock's on. This will be a goal." He just goes through the motions, and he could be a great kid, and he could be a lovely lad to have around. Murphy, they're all good, but someone else, right? Gary Willock and my pals saying get off the fence, but I can't sit on the fence because I go every week, and I'm sitting there going, I want somebody, the next Gordon. And the way Newcastle will get good is if, let's suppose Tosson comes in and he's on par with Botman, and then you see the team pick one week and Byrne and Shah aren't in, you think, well, that's because we've got 2 crap centre-halves. Well, I want the forward line to have an Osman in it, or I want the forward line to have a cracking winger on the right-hand side like Elise. You know what I mean? That kind of player. Or I want to see them bring in people like, you know, there's wingers out there like who would give us more. You know what I mean? I wrote 3 names down on the wingers I would do, and I would have Gonzalez, who plays at Fiorentina. He looks like a world beater, and I think he can be gettable. Bakayoko, PSV, them's the kind of players that will be a Botman or a Bruno, players that's way beyond. And if you're going to just buy out the British market, you're going to end up paying 60, 70 million for Crystal Palace players. And you know, it would do. People were actually saying, look at Leeds, we should be buying people off them. Why? They couldn't get out the Championship. We don't. The only player I'm told at Leeds any good's Eddie Gray's young Gray. They're not about like, let's go and buy Somerville. Why? What did he do in the final? You know, when all the shit was on the fence, they bottled it. So for me, we don't want to be going looking at who we can get out of Burnley. We don't want to be going looking at who we can get out of Leeds. We want to be sitting there thinking who's abroad, who's out the contract, who can be got, and seriously, you know, it's all right saying we've got rid of 7 kids in the reserves, and we've got rid of Carrius, who you know has been homesick since the Shadows first got together. So why are we sitting messing around? Is Kraft ever going to be good enough to play right back for Newcastle? Is Target ever going to be good enough to play left back for Newcastle? And then people say, oh, he's good cover. Get a kid who's brilliant, who's coming through, who's younger, who's hungry as hell. Let him cover. Let him beg the shirt off Livramento and Hall. But like, you know, like Hall looks like a player, but took a long time to give him the chance. But honestly, let's get some youth in, let's get some pace in, and let's go and buy some of these people. And let's that list I've put together, I reckon 139 million quid worth of players. Let them go and see what you can get. But well, I get frustrated because I think we're waiting too long to make a go at it. And I think 2 years in, and what happened this year with injuries, what happened with Tonali was unforeseen. But I think now we've got to go forward and we've got to say, right, we're going to have a go at this. We're going to have a go. And you know, I think we should be looking for 3 more diamonds. That's what I think. 3 more gems. Yeah. So you've got hardcore.
Sorry, Keith. The other thing that bothers me about staying British, we'll be charged a premium, a Newcastle United premium for rubbish players. And with no guarantee that they're going to be any better than what we've got in the squad now. So I would like to see where I would rather risk an unknown from the continent. George, stick to some of the dross that's running about the Premier League at the moment. And George, he has the names that's being suggested.
If they come to me and said, "Oh, Brentford's just said they'll take Wilson and 30 million for Tony," I'd say, "Well, you know, the lad can finish." And if he was up front with Gordon and Isaac, I think he's got great finishing capability. He's got the legs. But what I'm saying is, when you see people over here, you're talking about 28-year-olds and things like that. And for me, Newcastle's still a couple of years off where we can get to. But I think you'll do it by bringing youth up and bringing people in, 22-year-old, 21-year-old. So in 3 or 4 years, they're 25, they're matured. They've learned the brilliant camaraderie and the brilliant atmosphere that is Newcastle United. And it would be hard to break that up, or it would be hard to get them to leave. Nobody would want to leave the club. And that's where the big transfers. Who would want to walk out of Newcastle? Like a young Newcastle side. Go on, sorry, George.
The other thing I think you're spot on about is that the one thing Howe has proved, and his team have proved, that they can develop players in every direction. I mean, look at the physique of some of our players now, and try and remember what they were like when Howe came. I mean, some of them were bloody scrawny. Murphy was all skin and bone. He's like Mr. Universe now when he takes his shirt off. And look at young Anderson. The trouble with young Anderson and Dan Burn, they were trying too hard. They broke their bloody backs. But it shows the sort of development our current manager and his staff can do. Now, I'd rather risk that quality, that skill, on some youngsters from abroad rather than the dross of the Premiership. Because we're going to be charged a premium just because we're Newcastle United.
I mean, I like the lad Neto at Wolves, but he's injury prone. And you know, after this year, Newcastle shouldn't be buying anybody. They should be buying anybody that's got injury records, because we know what happens when it all comes together. They should be buying people who's played 35 to 40 games a season. That's what we should be buying.
Yeah.
Go broad and speculate. If you can pick Minters up for 7 million, stick him into Holland. I'd love to see that kid come back and see what he can do, because he looks as though he can have a proper good go. But he gives me more excitement than people like, well, the right wingers who get the shirt this year. I think we've had good years out of these people, but I think it's time to get the money on them, time to let them go on and play at their level.
Your nemesis is in the chat, Keith. Talking turf is Melly Bonds. He says, hello, lads. Anyone know who won the FA Cup winners in 2024?
Yeah, I tell you what, when you change the word,
all hiding for the FA Cup game.
When you change the word turf to shite and you get yourself on a podcast, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we are
Smelly on the telly.
We are an hour and a half into the show, as always. We always give honest opinions on here, and we don't always agree, and that's a good thing. But we do it in the right way. Go on, George. George, quickly.
Ian Tone Trader was on the bottom there saying that what we should do, not just look at how fit they are, but check their phones to make sure they haven't got betting apps on them.
That's a good point, Ian. Good point. Well made. Okay, time for Keith's favourite part of the show. Well, he might not be here in spirit, but Steve is on. He's on the lash, says Jimmy Wilson. Fantastic. Thank you, Jimmy. I knew that would get off to a good start. And two lookalike, Kieran Maguire and Liverpool owner John Henry, which is not bad. Not bad. Thank you for that one. Not bad at all. This one as well. Another actor ruined by drugs and alcohol, Thomas the Tank Engine. And Stephen Kennedy. Steve Hasty looks like James Bond. Pierce Brosnan, very good. Steve would take that. I'll speak on behalf of Steve.
Sure, he will.
Definitely take that. Andrew Malloy, Phil Foden, and an angry cat.
God almighty, that's brilliant.
And a dog or a younger Steve Hasty and Harry Styles. Says Ugly Camel.
Oh, dear me.
Victoria Beckham on the London Underground. Cliff Richard and Victoria Beckham, potentially. And David Cook, McCarthy from Southampton, and Pete Graves.
Aye, quite good, that.
Not bad, that, David. Not bad.
That.
Been very active, David, this week on here. Ian Hull, Phil Fearon from Phil Fearon and Gary. And Callum Wilson, good, that one as well.
For a spenny more lad, that's very good.
And this one from Nick, Spenny and Sloth. And he says, apologies.
I don't know who took that, but they must have waited a long time to get something like that.
Oh, Nick. There we go. Tom Dixon sent us a few. One I couldn't use, and I'm not going to tell you why. The Bog-Eyed Dog and Mesut Ozil, which is a good. We'll never get sick of seeing that one, Tom. Chris Waddle and Paul Young, very good.
Brilliant. That's excellent.
And we had this one as well. Fernando Torres and Chris Wokes. Very good. Cheers, Tom, for them, as always, supplying us with some good ones. We had this one as well from Jerry. The guy on the left on Amanda and Miadad's trip to Monaco and US talk show host Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Pretty good, that, Jerry. Thank you very much for your contribution. I hope you well. See you on the road again next season. Okay, we've got 4 more. Woody Allen and Bruce Springsteen.
What?
Yeah, it does look like Woody Allen, but it's actually Bruce Springsteen. Excellent, that. So well done.
That wasn't Bruce Springsteen, was it?
It was, yeah. He posted a post last week, and that is Bruce Springsteen. Brilliant. Sutty, I like this one as well. Steve Cooper and Judge Rinder. Okay, that was number 3. Number 2 was this one from Sutty, Tino Livramento and Kurt Smith from Tears for Fears. There was also Sam Fender on there, but that was a late entry. I like that one better, certainly. But number 1 this week is from Jimmy Moore, Joe Burrow, and Anakin Skywalker. Very good, Jimmy. That is That is
Excellent.
a very good
Nice
lookalike.
one.
Well done,
Keep it
Mr.
coming in.
Noah.
Get onto Facebook, go onto our group, or go onto our page, join the group, like the page, and if you want to leave one on there, or go to X at Steve Wraith, and you can find us on there. Don't forget, if you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or X, join us on YouTube. Search NUFC Matters on YouTube and just hit subscribe. We do 7 shows a week, and we've hit 1,029 viewing live tonight. So thank you very much for tuning in. We never take it for granted.
Wow,
it's always a
thanks,
pleasure
everybody.
to do.
Amazing.
Lovely to do this show on a Friday night. It's absolutely brilliant. And we do all the shows. They're great. But of course, this has remained the flagship program. I think is the best way to describe it. Rob, who does Talk of the Tune, he's on tomorrow at 10 a.m. with Sid. He wants to know, Mitch, if you can suggest an album for him to review on next week's show.
White Pony by the Deftones.
White Pony by the Deftones. Is that a real album?
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay. There you go. White Pony by the Deftones. Rob, I hope you got that. If not, you'll have to watch the show back. And that's it. Okay. Lots of questions. Not enough time to get through them all. Andy Ford, I'll take yours. Mitch, we'll come to you first. I think with all the FFP rules, the time of the huge transfers are over. Yes, Real Madrid can buy someone for 100 million, but maybe one a year. Are all clubs starting to readjust to this, Mitch?
No, because certain clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona still keep finding ways to twist income and pull what they call economic levers, and they're getting hands off of courts and hands off of football federations, and almost so they can just behave however they want, and almost ignore the consequences. Football finance has always been complicated and made no sense, but at the minute it's ridiculous. And I think, like I've said a few times over the last few weeks, there's only 17 clubs in the history of the game worldwide who've spent more than £50 million on a player. And most of those clubs right now are either their star has fallen rather, or they're financially no longer in that stable a position to do so. So that would then narrow, when people worry about where Bruno could be going, it narrows it down even further. And yes, I think that's why our move with Bruno and the buyout clause was a wonderful all-in chips in the middle of the table move to stop speculation once and for all for a while. Show the colour of your money or get knotted. And clubs have to readjust, because if they make one signing like at that level, it'll screw the rest of their window. They're then sort of having to wheel and deal much more closely. I guess it's part of the problem that we have is in trying to do one thing they've achieved in sort of throttling another element of the game, and it's difficult to know as we go into this window once it opens. I think we'll see a very different pattern of business. I think we'll have to see stuff done early because the date's important from an accounting point of view. And then buys, I think we'll see after protracted negotiations with multiple clubs, really to get the most out of the money of the player as possible. I think readjust is probably a good word to use.
Yeah, you're nodding away there, George. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's hard not to agree with what Neil says. It's just common sense. And
Well,
again,
you are his dad, like. You are his dad.
what's that to do with anything? What's that to do with anything? That's more to do with his mother than it is me. You get back to the issue of the haves and the have-nots, don't you? The move to put the big fee on Bruno and make it cash only, yes, it's great, but then you're limited to the 2 or 3 clubs that could actually do that, and probably would if they really wanted to. And we've got to get round this issue and spread it around. But until certain associations, not just clubs, but associations, e.g. Spain, Italy, and 1 or 2 others, bite the bullet about rules and have rules of their own that make sense, then it'll always be a buyer's market, first come, first served. All those that get left behind, or like in the Premiership, are those that are stuck playing to different rules, and that's what needs to change. Have they the will to do it? I don't think so. I think while they get away with it, they'll continue. That's why the European Super League keeps coming back. They didn't kill it off. They're just going to find other ways of doing it. I find it interesting, though, that today's news that the players' union's starting to talk about not taking part in certain competitions because there's too many. I mean, that's really is news because they're absolutely right. We see it ourselves. What a different setup we had this year when we didn't have 2 games a week. When we didn't have the week to recover, is what I'm saying, and get back to where we were. We didn't have time when we're playing 2 games a week, and it showed. It showed. And unless the squad's got the depth, you'll always be in that position. It's people are. It is adjusting, but it is adjusting, and it's not. It's change we want. It's not adjusting. It's real rules and real regulatory bodies that have the teeth to do something about it. Not something stupid like a football regulator from bloody Parliament. I mean, that's rubbish. It needs to be something a bit stronger than that, and make people stick by it. And if they don't, then they suffer, really suffer, not just clarting about with 2 points here and 2 points there. They are adjusting, but for me, just adjusting to make it easier for themselves and not worrying about anybody else. Needs a whole root and branch look at the whole thing, right across Europe, right across the world, really, but Europe first, because that's where the malaise starts and ends. That's where you can find the Barcelonas, Real Madrids, and the PSVs who will spend money to find out how to change the rules, to defeat the rules. That's the difference. Whereas the other poor 100 and 200 and clubs in the column haven't got that sort of money to spend to employ fancy lawyers and accountants to look at the rules and analyse them brick by brick. And that's just the unfairness of the situation. I still, in my heart of hearts, think that in terms of the UK, I still have a feeling in my gut that before she goes, Amanda Staveley will upset the apple cart in the Premier League.
Yep, you've been 100% certain about that since the year dot, George. Keith, has the years of spending clubs en masse spending £100 million plus for players gone? Are we past that now?
I don't know if you are, because as long as you've got Haalands, given the value they give, and Isaacs, they're always going to make an excess of 100 million. But when you look at the 3 players, headline players that went for 100 plus, you look at Grealish, you look at Casado, you look at like Enzo Fernandez or whatever they call him. You talk about, did they do it? Did they really bring value? And I've got to say the answer is no. And that's why I go back to Newcastle can't compete on that. We can't buy 100 million plus players. So what I would do is I would say what Newcastle's looking for. They're looking for the first 11 of diamonds and a lot of promise coming through to replace injuries and substitutions, and when you're in front and in cup matches. So to me, I say, how do you get your diamonds? So you go out, you buy them for proper players. So you Bruno, 30-odd bank. Joe Linton, 30-odd bank. Tinali, 60 million bank. Gordon, 39 bank. Isaac, 60. None of them anywhere near 100. But a lot of them players would be 100 now if they were to go. Like if Anthony Gordon went tomorrow, he's certainly not 40 or 50 or 60 million. His value's increased incredibly. So where's the? So you've got them 5: Bruno, Joelinton, Tonali, Gordon, and Isaac. Where's your next ones? Maybe it's Livramento and Hall. Maybe it's them two because they've got the edge on the side and they're showing lots of promise. Where's the next 2 after that? It could be Tossin and Kelly. You know, 2 lads who highly rated their clubs. They could come in and they could be diamonds. And then where do you go next? So if you had them, you're up to 2, 4, 6, 9 diamonds if they come through. Where do you go next? Centre forward, right winger, defensive midfield player, and a goalkeeper. That's where Newcastle should be. You know, that spine is incredible from the keeper to the central. If Tossin and Kelly are what we think they are, and you've got Botman and Byrne and Shah in there, I think we've got our 5 centre halves. But you've got to get the defensive midfield player in, like somebody like a Graham Souness, a Tommy Smith, somebody who's like powerful, take the ball off the defenders and then feed it in. Someone who wins it, stands up and can do it. And we're lacking that defensive midfield player. We're lacking a goalkeeper who is one of the diamonds. I'm not talking about someone who's a canny goalkeeper who we like. I'm talking about somebody who'd say, shit, if he gets injured, we're knackered. Somebody who's that good, you talked about in the same breath as Bruno, and we need a centre forward and a right winger. You know what I mean? And yes, there's some of them will be on the bench, but that's I don't think any of them is 100 million, Steve. I think they're all in the ilk of what we do at the minute. I think the 35, 40, 50s. I think big end is 60 million. I think that's our top end, and I think then we get players that are worth 100. But I don't think that the clubs will stay, as your question. I don't think Man City's going to stop spending 100 for the right player. I don't think PSG are. I don't think Real Madrid are. I don't think Man United are. If Man United will give 400,000 a week to that midfield player, you just think 400 grand, 350 a week for a forward who can't get in the England squad. 350,000 a week. So really, the fee is secondary when you're paying someone 350,000 a week, giving them a 5-year contract. So I think them clubs, I think definitely the Man Uniteds, the Arsenals, have just proved it with Rice. I think they'll still keep on spending 100, and there'll be occasionally our players challenging 100. I just hope we can go and get our next 4 diamonds.
Keith, I've got a question for you. The lads have discussed this on the show in previous weeks, but with you being on, I will ask you the question. David Cook says, what's Keith's legal view on the Dan Ashworth debacle?
I think that Dan Ashworth will go into if the case runs. I think either Man United will buy the case off, and they will turn around and say we're not going to let it run, and there's your money on Dan Ashworth, because that's one way of stopping it running to avoid a tapping up case. There's a possibility that could happen, but if it runs, I think any prosecuting lawyer, anybody on any judge would ask Dan Ashworth the question, what do you do for a living, Mr. Ashworth? They say, well, I do contracts. And so you scrutinise contracts and sign players. Yeah. Did you scrutinise your own? And he'll ask the question, why did you sign it? Why did you sign that contract? Because if you had that contract in front of you and it's not fair now, surely you must have thought it was at some time. Why has it not become fair? Is that because you've gone off for Man United? So I think Dan Ashworth is going to run into a credibility problem, and I think he's going to look very, very poor. I hope the next guy, when we're talking about directors of football before, I've got one thought, whether it's Spurs or whether it's Maldini or whoever it is, I don't think we can get anybody less sincere and less loyal and less genuine than the one we're just losing. I think he's proved himself to be, in everybody's eyes, a bit of a snake. So I think he came with all the right things, having bought all these clever players to Brighton, but. You know, you talk about the characters of football that's made our dressing room. The characters off the field is equally, or maybe it's more important. But as far as he goes, I think he'll struggle to win an arbitration. And I think the email that he sent himself and copied through his club account will make it impossible for him to come away with anything but breaching the FA rules or the Premier League rules of acting with sincerity in regard to the club you're working for. He's sold Brighton down the line. He's guy who's liaising with sold Man City down the line, and I think they're on the loser. But I genuinely think Man United will buy it out. I think you'll not get 20 million for Ashworth, but I bet you get something like 15. So there's no case run. But if the case runs, it'll be a bit like our takeover case when the competition case ran. Game over.
Question for Mitch.
Keith, the other
on,
thing that probably... Sorry.
Any news on Tosin, Mitch? I mean, you've picked up a few bits and bobs from places, but I've not heard anything on any of the transfers as yet. And I keep pointing people in the direction of Craig Hope, to be honest.
I've got to be a bit coy about this because I was actually speaking to Tosin's agent this week. Mm-hmm. He's just opened a bar on the Palm in Dubai. And I've had an invite to go down and check his new bar out, which has got a music recording studio, a podcast studio in it, and a men's grooming centre. I know.
You want you to get down and groom some people.
To be Newcastle fans.
There you go.
You could groom Steve Hasty's hair. You could get him over and groom his. You could groom it into different styles for the lookalikes.
Yes,
Mitch, it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right for you to end this show tonight with all these people sitting over 1,000 people tuned in. You didn't tell them that the Tosin deals are done down.
His agent's super coy about it.
So all right, I'll phrase it differently so you don't drop your confidence in. I'll just ask you a question, Mr. Mitchell Jr. Could you say, in your opinion, just your opinion, not the agent's, that you are optimistic that Tosin will be joining Newcastle?
Yes.
That's exactly what I've heard. I've heard the same. So Kelly Dundale and Tosin on his way. That's why I think Newcastle's got to take 2 free transfers, get rid of all these wages on the books, and bring some other gems in this season. Could be a great window. This, if you get 2 players like them in on a free, and then you can go and buy 3 or 4 players.
Well, one of the things that he did say that I don't think I'm breaking the confidence in saying it.
Smash it to bits.
Was that Tosin had looked at how Anthony Gordon had come to Newcastle and how he'd been developed by Howe. Yeah. And he felt that was more impressive than any amount of money that another club could throw at him.
And did he say that's why he's going to tell you the two to get stuffed? Did he say that's why he's going to tell you the 2 clubs to get stuffed?
Well, he wouldn't be an agent doing his job if he did that, would he? I do think it would take a phenomenal amount of money from somebody else to turn his head the other way.
Yeah.
And I guess if that happens, we all know then what the player's about.
He's not for us.
And he's not for us. Exactly. I think it's the best way to describe it. Okay. We have got about 12 minutes left. Get well soon to Mozza as well. She's been a bit ropey, as has Alan after the holiday. But as always, we do like to cheer people up with this bit of music. The day I met, where we ask you to send in photos of you meeting somebody from Newcastle, past or present. And Mick Gilchrist, he sent us this one in. I've mixed this up. So this was a lookalike, by the way, me and Tim Booth, which was great. Thanks for that, Mick. This one was sent in by Andy, meeting Joe Allen in the Granger Market, by the looks of it. So thanks for that. He looks well, Joe. I've seen him today at the Cat and Dog Shelter. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks for sending that in. Joe's been out and about, and he's doing very, very well. So thanks for all your well wishes for him, and he will be becoming a regular feature on the show in the new season. But if you've got a photo to send in the day I met, send it to the Facebook group, Facebook page, join and like, and we will play this lovely music for you and then feature your picture. All right, Sean, we'll give you the last question. He says, is there a chance we can get back into Europe, lads, because of Earthworm Jim's ownership stakes in Nice and Man United? And if so, how would it work with all the released players, quotas and that? And there's also been people talking about Chelsea, Mitch, as well. Look, I think Europe, forget about it. Move on. It's done. Let's hope next season.
There's already been some sort of confirmation from UEFA that in the event of Man United being disbarred because of the ownership rule, or Chelsea withdrawing or being asked to withdraw from European football, that the place will not be made available to us.
Okay. Simple answer to a simple question. What do you think, Keith? I'll come to you next on that, and then George.
The
boat sailed Europe, hasn't it? For me, do you want European football now? And do you think we'd get it if there was a team, knocked out or kicked out for whatever reason?
I think if someone got, let's suppose Chelsea decided they didn't want to play in the Conference League because they couldn't comply, so they dropped out, or Man United were charged with something, and we got in, it would be classed as they got in by default, and if you won it, you could just hear it all now. To be honest, I think everything happens for a reason, and I think, yes, I'd like to have gone in the Conference League. I think we could have won it. We never got in. It didn't happen. Take it on the chin, and let's be that team. Because when you look back in history, the teams who haven't qualified, and I'm talking about some top teams, have had an astounding year the year after when they didn't play in Europe. And I think Newcastle could use that to bed players in, bring younger ones through, and use this non-European season to play a lot of Saturday games while the others are messing on and chewing on. So I think if we got in the conference, I think we'd have a good chance of winning it. But try telling that to people like Aston Villa fans, and look at what West Ham did after they won it, because then they've slipped back again. They've lost the European space. So take what's happened, accept it, move on, let it go. But there is a chance. There is a chance, and I think Chelsea might struggle to comply. I don't think they'll be able to do the numbers to comply with it. So there is a chance.
George, shall we just forget about Europe now? It's done and dusted. Although I do recall the Fairs Cup, Newcastle finishing the season before 11th or 12th and still winning it.
There was so many rules then, though. You couldn't have two clubs from one city. You couldn't have a club doing this. You couldn't have a club doing that. And we benefited from all of that. The difference was we had a manager and a group of players who said, well, okay, we've had a chance. Let's go for it. And Harvey did. That's all he did. He just went for it. And look at the reward. I think this manager would do the same. But in reality, I'm a bit like you. Let's forget about it. Don't let's pick up the tag of being second best or to sneak in the back door and all that sort of thing. Let's really sit down and program for next year. Give next year a really 100% shot at all the British prizes, the prizes that we'd like to see in the trophy room at St James's Park, the ones that really do matter. When young Gordon was asked, did he want a medal from the Euros or would he prefer a medal for Newcastle United? What did he say? Newcastle United. They pay me wages. That's the attitude we've got to have. We need to get amongst the trophies, and this fallow year for Europe gives you an opportunity to do some concentrating in a way we haven't done before. Not with this management group, anyway.
Lots of people asking about your thumb, Mitch. Can we just have a verbal update?
Still on. Spoke to the hand surgeon yesterday. The fact that I kept the bit that got chopped off so you could stick that one back on has probably saved us from a skin graft, so that's handy. And it's starting to heal. I sent you guys a picture of it yesterday, I think. It still looks like a bloody zombie bite. It's not the prettiest looking thing at the minute. But I reckon once all that top layer of skin sort of sloughs off, there'll be fresh new skin underneath, and I won't need any more doing with it. It's just time now.
Good stuff. It's been a great show tonight. I'm conscious of the fact that Keith's got to go out. I just want to finish off with Elliot. I was driving on the motorway yesterday in a hearse. The police pulled me over for undertaking, says Elliot.
Mm.
Oh, God.
Hey, brilliant. Thanks, Elliot, as always. Sends us into the weekend with a great laugh. It's been a great show. Keith, thanks as always for joining us and stepping in for Steve Hasty this weekend. And we will endeavour to get you on sometime in June when your work schedule allows
Thanks.
it. But lots of love for you in the chat as always, mate.
Thanks to all them people.
Thanks for your patience, lads. Thanks for your patience.
I'm sorry I can't get on as much as I would like to, but it says it's great. It's heartwarming to read what you said, and I don't think it goes missed. Thanks a lot, everybody.
1,072 were hit tonight across all platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, and on X. Please jump onto YouTube.
Thank you.
Please jump onto YouTube, hit NUFC Matters in the search bar, and then just hit subscribe. We do 7 shows a week. There's something for everybody. You might not watch all the shows. You might just watch Fridays. You might watch Super Matt and Gibbo on a Thursday, whatever. But come and join the party. And big thanks to Keith. Big thanks to George. Big thanks to Mitch. I'll be back 10 a.m. in the morning with Rob and Sid for Talk of the Tune. And we'll be back with the professionals 6 o'clock on Sunday. Look forward to that as well. Have a good weekend, everybody. Take care.
Take care. Thank you. Cheers.
Everybody. Bye.